In the past few days, Storm has died, come back to life, was made the host of eternity, fought her own X-Men, and bid farewell to Charles Xavier. But what awaits her in the jungles of Brazil is unlike anything she's ever faced before. In the far reaches of the universe, in the near future, a cataclysmic battle comes to an end. A member of the Thor Corps and the Spirit of Vengeance lie motionless as a black flaming sword is embedded in the ground. Norrin Rad, the Silver Surfer, approaches and borrows the weapon from one of the fallen combatants. Imbued with both cosmic power and the fiery fury of Surtur's Twilight Sword, Norrin Rand is one of the most powerful beings in the universe. Yet this being, whose presence alone strikes fear into the hearts of trillions, answers to an even greater power. Galactus, the devourer of worlds. But even the cosmic ravager known as Galactus answers to another, the universe plague, the Black Winter, Ender. But before an Ender can reach our universe, they must pass through the Oblivion Void, and many Enders who've tried have met a swift end at the hand of the most powerful of the Primordials, Oblivion. This fearsome cosmic leviathan bears a striking resemblance to a serpent facing off against our Weather Witch, as she runs the risk of meeting a swift end at its hand. This anaconda is imbued with the super soldier serum, and it hungers for mutant flesh. Its teeth dripping with blood and venom, its eyes aglow in the night sky. But Storm is not afraid, and neither is the Omega Maggot, who serves the anaconda a devastating right hand. But he's still not 100%. He's still recovering from his fight with Juggernaut, and so Storm takes the lead and chases down the beast. Making note of its cold-blooded nature, she freezes the air around her so much that ice falls from the sky and cocoons the trees in frost. She doesn't need the creature to die, just to go to sleep. But how did she end up in this predicament? To answer that question, we must roll back the clock a week ago, back when Tony Stark, the Iron Man, made himself comfortable in Storm's sanctuary. And this wasn't the first time. But unbeknownst to Tony, Aurora is well aware of his late-night rendezvous with his lady friends in her home, and she is not in the mood to entertain his shenanigans tonight. Before going back to bed, Aurora tells Tony that she does indeed sleep on a real mattress. She doesn't just float in the air, but that's not what he heard from T'Challa. Beside herself with these annoyances, Aurora demands to know why Tony's in her home. This is the first time they've exchanged words since she asked for his assistance following the Oklahoma incident. He wants to know if she will keep secrets. But Storm's already deduced the real reason why he's here. As she perceives the cosmic dust radiating off of his suit, she can tell that he's gone off in search of Thor and failed, meaning that she, for whatever he needs, is his last hope. But this isn't an Avengers mission. He can't even tell her who this mission is for. And so if a word of this leaves Storm's lips, Tony will be left with no choice but the nuclear option, the publishing of her browser history. And if there's nothing juicy enough in hers, then maybe he'll check out Maggot's life and see if there's something juicier there. Deep in the heart of Brazil, the Avengers have been working with quote-unquote mad scientists to recreate the super soldier serum. But during a weather anomaly, the serum was lost, along with a good man who became a certain anaconda's late-night meal. His remains, along with the remaining samples of the super soldier serum, must be found before they fall into the wrong hands. And they need to get to the bottom of this anomaly. Storm is indeed their last hope, because they've tried everything. The only other option they have left is one of divine proportions. The divine option proves effective, as the anaconda is obliterated by a single strike of lightning. But this is not Storm's doing. The pilot's remains are obliterated along with the snake, and any trace of the serum. The mission is a failure, but Storm isn't concerned with that. Something's amiss. How is Maggot able to keep up with her speed without losing breath, or having an elevated heart rate? More importantly, this lightning was not Storm's. Something else. someone else was behind it. That someone was Mama Ragan, the regulator of tempests, whose very presence is altering the atmosphere of the area. The atmosphere continues to change as the air molecules around them are replaced purely with oxygen molecules, making this space even more conducive to lightning. Lightning that forms within the mouth of the Orisha, Shango. Airbound and axe in hand, Shango spits forth a torrent of electricity down upon Storm. But she is prepared and counters at the perfect moment with her own ice blast. Taking a page from Eternity's playbook, she remembers how he used her body and powers as they had never been used before, and she has added his moves to her own repertoire. Before Storm and Maggot could even realize who is upon them, another enters the battle. Susanoo, whose lightning teleportation leaves after images. Maggot tries to deliver another crafty right hand as he did on the Anaconda, but the Japanese storm god is far too fast for the Omega mutant. Luckily for Maggot, he has some divine storm power of his own on his side, as Storm counters with a whirlwind that momentarily traps and disorients Susanoo. But the storm god is no stranger to combat. He zaps back down to the ground and counters with a lightning clap that sends Maggot flying. Storm is barely able to keep her feet planted and takes a moment to redirect her teammate with a water whip that sends him flying back to the sanctuary. At that moment, the fourth and final new combatant enters the battlefield, Chak, the Mayan god of storms. He sees Storm trying to retreat, and that's something that in his opinion, a storm god should never do. He gives Storm a lesson in godhood by grabbing her hair and slamming her face first into the ground. When you are a self-proclaimed storm god, what do you do when the real ones come for you? And it's here, as she lies face first in the murky Brazilian jungle waters, that she remembers a lesson that Dr. Voodoo taught to her, the moment when she was introduced to the voodoo concept that would now save her. She is the descendant of Ashake, who shares blood with Agamotto, the first sorcerer supreme. When powers won't do, magic will. Ile, the dark magic spell that causes its victims to plummet to their doom. For regardless of how powerful or how divine one is, that which soars must one day surely fall. And fall they do, as a mystical octopus comes to the aid of Storm, wrapping its eldritch tentacles around the storm gods and introducing them to Brazil's jungle waters. Storm's eyes grow black in her head, the same way they did so many years ago when she first met Charles Xavier, in the middle of a tempest of her own making, proving that her mutant abilities, her divine nature, and her mystic bloodline are united. They are not merely separate elements, they are all together one, all together her. But one of the storm gods is still in the fight. Mama Ragan, atop his steed, hurries towards Storm with all the fury of a lightning volley. Storm is out of options, and soon will be out of time, so she grabs Susanoo's blade and does the only thing she can to free herself from Chak's grip. She slices through her own curly locks. The final offense of the night. The second of freedom is all Storm needs to blitz herself away in lightning. She descends in Rio de Janeiro, calling out to Maggot that the mission is not over. He is to tell Iron Man that she knows what is behind the weather anomaly, and it will soon come to an end. Whatever ashes of the pilot's body that remains will be sifted through the earth and given back to his family. But first, Storm needs her armor and blade. She's going god hunting. At least she would be if Thor weren't standing in her way. He knows all about the fury of the storm gods, but he says nay to it all. After issue 6 in X-Men 13, this issue was just what I needed. Storm versus the Thunder Gods, the first battle in the Thunder Wars.
And it is glorious!
Notice who wasn't there, by the way. No Eternity. Thank you, Jesus. Storm stood up to these dudes all on her own. I mean, Maggot was there too, but you get my point. all her own skill, powers, and spells. This is the Weather Witch Manifest. Calling back to her time with Dr. Voodoo and using that spell against the storm gods was so gangster. But what was even more gangster was the fact that she was able to stand up to them in the first place. These are all real-world storm gods. I don't know exactly where all these guys scale in the Marvel universe, but I think it's safe to say that she was essentially fighting 4 different Thors in a 4v1. No, she didn't win, but she held her ground. And she has multiple weapons in her arsenal that gave her an upper hand at different points of the fight. And I have a feeling that we will see the return of the Godhead in the issues to come. I hope so, cause she gonna need all the divine power-ups she can possibly get. Hopefully without Eternity pulling another Rising. But I can't hate on Eternity too much, because we are seeing how her connection with Eternity is benefiting her. She's adding his moves with her powers to her own moveset, and she's also way more durable now than she was before. Remember, we're here because she broke Egoun's conditions and used her powers before the week was up. And when he came to collect, he killed her with one slash of the claws. Now she's literally being ragdolled by gods. If that's not proof that she's more durable in her base form, I don't know what is. Now sure, this could be Eternity simply keeping her from being hurt. But I think there's a possibility that she's just becoming more durable in her base state because of her prolonged connection with Eternity. So by being his host, she's just becoming more powerful. And even if they were to part, she might keep it. And I love the fact that Murewa is taking us on such a grand tour for Storm. In fact, in lieu of my usual reaction sections, I want to take some time to reflect on this issue. Not only was it so good on its own, but it also serves as a great 50th anniversary celebration for Storm. As Murewa himself lays out in this issue's closing pages, Storm's been on a very long journey since her debut. Aside from her home team of the X-Men and numerous offshoot X-teams, she's also been a member of the Fantastic Four and the Avengers. She's one of only 3 characters in the Marvel Universe to hold memberships among all 3 of its most iconic teams. Not to mention being the Queen of Wakanda, Regent of Araco, Voice of Soul, and now host of Eternity. She started off being worshipped as a tribal goddess in Kenya, and now she's a storm goddess who hosts cosmic entities, battling other storm gods amidst a cosmic conflict for the fate of all existence. And in this fight, Storm calls upon magics old and new. This creative team has taken things that were set into motion 50 years ago by the late Dave Cockrum and Len Wein and brought them to fruition, realizing the vision that they and Chris Claremont had for Aurora years ago. It's been a long time coming with several roadblocks, but I think this issue and this series is the best way to commemorate Storm's 50 years. The powerful Storm, the vulnerable Storm, the messy Storm, the motherly Storm, the regal Storm, the mutant Storm, the mystic Storm, and the divine Storm. Here's to 50 more years of Storm and then 50 more. And if you want more Weather Witch goddessness in your life, then just click on this video right here. Until next time, keep simping.